You're with Julian on the Brown Note, and Tommy Robinson, Nigel Farage, and the Unite the UK in Fascist movement. So, in Australia, we've had a recent marches against immigration, which the last one was so pitifully a non-event that I haven't even done a piece on it. But in the UK, it's a very different matter. On the weekend, 26 officers have been injured whilst policing a protest organised by far-right activist Tommy Robinson, which saw up to 150,000 people march through central London. Tensions flared at the Unite the Kingdom rally. That doesn't sound fascist at all. With some protesters throwing bottles, projectiles, leaving 4 seriously hurt. Tech billionaire Elon Musk spoke to protesters on Whitehall via video link, and 5,000 joined in a counter-protest. They're already saying, as always, that the figures are 3 million. How do you go from 150,000 to 3 million? A gazillion people attended the march. And, you know, Elon Musk, why is he allowed to foment genuine political violence in other countries? Aren't we at a time when there should be an arrest warrant? He's like some teenage boy in a chat room. He continually peddles falsehoods. Like his take on things is always the kind that you would say from someone that's not researched a thing. He just regurgitates things that are instantly disprovable. But he's so dangerous. He's like using his power to just promote very aggressive and violent ideology all of the time. It's the only thing he does. How he thinks Tesla's getting out of this hole when he was responsible for it. Tommy Robinson is an interesting fellow. He's more of a side character in the fact that he's always been perceived as being too extreme to actually foment a political party. But now they have a political party called Reform UK representing his ideology. He's kind of become back to the forefront of what's going on. It used to be back in the day that it was about the grooming gangs about 10 or so years ago, but now he's kind of like the wingman of Nigel Farage. Now, Nigel Farage, the king of Brexit, is the undisputed grifter king of con artist politicians, out there to feather his own nest by peddling whatever disgraceful crap he can, whilst being a rich Tory. Let's face it. I mean, Pauline Hanson's got nothing on the grifting of Nigel Farage. He came into town with Brexit, where the underlying theme was, I will stop brown immigrants coming to the UK. He won Brexit. It didn't. He said £350 million a week would go to the National Health Service. He wants to privatise the National Health Service. No money went to the National Health Service. And now he's back. I mean, he won, and immigration actually went up. International migration to the UK went up after Brexit. It spiked massively after COVID, and then it's actually gone down under Keir Starmer, and they're having these riots in the streets over it, hanging around outside immigration hotels, blaming Keir Starmer of Labour that the Tories set up. The Tories set these hotels up for immigrants, and they never complained when that happened. And the whole thing has happened under, like, the Tories were in power in the UK, the equivalent of our Liberal Party in Australia, from 2010 to 2024, 14 years of all this mess happening. They never complain about anything, economically, immigration-wise, when the Tories are in power. It's always when we get a Labour government that suddenly these issues come to the forefront. So we got Brexit and Boris Johnson and Farage just sat in the background, and immigration of brown people, which is all they care about, went up. And it's actually gone down since Keir Starmer got in. And the whole thing is analogous to white replacement theory. So white replacement theory is the theory that white Europeans and white Americans are being bred out by browner people or people of different cultures. The underlying theme is that there is a group guiding this as a deliberate policy to destroy the white race, and that group is Jewish. Or that group is Jewish plus other bad actors that are doing it deliberately. So there's this huge anti-Semitic theme underlying it. Ironically, these are the same people that massively support Netanyahu. Not the followers, but the politicians who peddle, and the people in media who peddle this white replacement theory. So Farage came into town promising us to get rid of brown immigration, and it didn't, and he's back again selling the same thing. He's selling exactly the same thing. And he's actually got, now, I wish the public would, it's a one-issue thing for the public like Brexit was. If they actually dropped immigration from reviewing how they feel about Nigel Farage, you'd find out the rest of his policies are bloody awful. He is up to his neck with American billionaires and selling off the National Health Service. He doesn't even want a publicly funded National Health Service. He wants an insurance scheme. And I believe, like, the National Health Service has been a nightmare for the Tories because they want private healthcare. And they've never been able to overthrow the National Health Service. They've gutted it from the inside out, but they've never been able to overthrow it. But when it comes down to this race issue of immigration, people that actually support the National Health Service may even vote against it. It's terrifying. And if you look at who Nigel Farage stands next to and takes his money from and goes to talk to, who is funding reform? Nigel Farage says his party is a break from the political establishment. That claim doesn't match up with his donors. Our finding revealed that despite claiming to represent a break with the current political establishment, reform is largely funded by ex-Tory donors who account for around a quarter of the money it's received in large donations. We also found that reform has an unusually high number of overseas backers with links to tax havens. While the party previously criticised Labour's $4 million donation from a Cayman Islands-controlled hedge fund, which Open Democracy revealed last year, more than 10% of its donations are from offshore donations. Nigel Farage from these tax havens. Nigel Farage has been accused of being this was great. He went to America. Our own, the BBC, the media in the UK, and the political commentary in the UK never holds him to account, like he just got his ass handed to him when he went to America. Nigel Farage has been accused of being a Putin-loving free speech imposter whose main motivation is ingratiating himself with Donald Trump and tech companies during a sometimes difficult appearance before a US congressional hearing on censorship. The fact that Trump is the least free speech president in US history, cracking down on free speech in every direction, and they're complaining to them about the free speech in the UK. The Reform UK leader who missed Prime Minister's question time to appear as a witness before the House Judiciary was invited by its Republican leadership, who questioned him about what Farage called the awful authoritarian situation for free speech in the UK. But he faced open hostile questioning from Democrats who questioned whether he really backed free speech, with one asking why journalists and hostile publications had been banned from his Reform UK events. In an opening statement, the Maryland Democrat Jamie Raskin said, if Farage was, as he said, worried about the implications of the UK's Online Safety Act, he might have done better to make the case as an MP in the UK rather than sitting there at that moment in the US. He should go and advance the positions he's taking here in Congress, in Parliament in the UK, which is meeting today, if he's serious. To the people of the UK who think this Putin-loving free speech imposter and Trump sycophant will protect freedom in this country, come on over to America and see what Trump and MAGA are doing to destroy freedom here. You might think twice about letting Nigel Farage make Britain great again. Keir Starmer, the UK Labour leader and Prime Minister, who I have rubbished at length for the last 5 years, as a Jeremy Corbyn supporter of True Labour, has massively opened the door. It should have been a golden era for Labour. He has been not only a fake Labour right-winger and neoliberalist, but his judgment calls and leadership have been atrocious, massively opening the door to Nigel Farage's Reform UK. And as I said on the previous piece about Charlie Kirk, the level of press attention these bad faith actors get is off the charts. I went back to the UK before Brexit. And the one thing that I took away was whenever I turned the TV on, whoever the channel, whoever the journalist, I would inevitably see Nigel Farage being asked his opinion. Where does this come from? Obviously, it sells clicks, but it's not good for the country. The BBC has come under renewed pressure over the amount of coverage dedicated to Reform UK after analysis showed Nigel Farage's party featured in a quarter of all News at 10 bulletins over the last 6 months. Reform featured in 49 bulletins, and the Liberal Democrats, a third party in Parliament with 72 MPs, featured in less. The Cardiff University study found Reform was referenced in just under a fifth of ITV news bulletins and only 6% for the Liberal Democrats, who are a much bigger party. The study of the two bulletins also raised questions about the scrutiny of Reform. In just under a fifth of cases, there was no analysis of Reform's policies or claims. They were rigorously scrutinised in just under 4 in 10 cases. So they let him talk whatever he wants and never hold him to account and never research anything that he said. So the media are massively to blame here, and he's good television for them. Now, Reform started as a very, very small organisation. Even though Brexit has been a complete disaster, he has walked away like his shit don't stink. And he has now come back with this entirely reimagined version of Brexit that he promoted and failed in the first place. But you only have to look at what happened in Germany at the end of the 1920s and the start of the 1930s. In 1928, the Nazi Party got 2% of the vote. In 1930, they got 18% of the vote. In 1932, they got 37% of the vote. And basically, from that point on, started to cancel democracy entirely. In March 1933, they got 44% of the vote, and they banned all other parties from participating in democratic elections. And November that year, they got 92% of the vote. And someone pointed out recently the fascism that has gained a place of governance of a country via democracy has never in human history been defeated by democracy. And there is no doubt that that's where Nigel Farage represents a billionaire class. And he uses racism as a tool to manipulate the masses. And waving flags and all of this stuff. We've seen it from, the marches for Oswald Mosley back in the 1930s to the marches of the National Front, always waving the same flags, although less swastika flags now, even though Hitler is actually quite popular amongst these people. And he has a group of charlatans, posh Tory twats that have absolutely no concept of governance. He's just there to facilitate big money getting access to government and doing whatever they want with the United Kingdom. And the media are facilitating it. Fascism is never far away from democracy because democracy itself invites extremes because it allows them, whereas fascism shuts them down. Fascism's like the vampire hanging outside the door of democracy because it always needs to be invited in by democracy.